WVUA-FM, Tuscaloosa.
Hello, everybody. This is WVUA 90.7 FM, The Capstone, and welcome to episode number 17 of the Full Court Press podcast. My name is Jamie Martinez, and I'm joined by Alex Chasen and Nick Atkinson. On today's episode, look forward to league news, trade rumors, and our Eastern Conference trade deadline dream scenarios. We hope you enjoyed last week's episode. Now, let's get into it.
Ooh, a little new twist to the intro.
Sir, yes, sir.
I like it. And you know what time it is. LeBron James is 178 points away from Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I want to touch on LeBron James's game last night, though. They lost to the Clippers. All right, that happens. But he dropped 46 points, and he had a career-high 9 3-pointers made. Yes, they lost, but that is pretty incredible. Yeah. And the funny thing is, there were two people breaking records last night. Russell Westbrook reaches 24K career points. He is now at 24,013. Last night's stat line, again in the loss, but he did it. He got 17 points. How do you feel about this, Nick? You're the Russell Westbrook fanatic. Let the people know.
I mean, obviously, I feel really good about it. You know, this is an elite company. It solidifies him being a top 40 player in the history of basketball.
You said top 35.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, people got their opinions about him for whatever reason. But I will say 35 for sure. But, you know, I'm just going to say 40 so I don't, you know, get caught in any sort of, you know.
Any heat.
But, you know, that solidifies. At what point guard's doing that, being top 10 in assists, being top 100 in rebounds, top, 10 in steals. He just does everything on the court, you know.
It is crazy. LeBron James goes under 200 points. And Russell Westbrook, he's over 24K points on his career. Breaking records last night, but they couldn't get the W.
They can't win games.
They can't win games, but they're breaking personal records. We'll see what happens with that. But as we all know, LeBron he's ticking down, and he'll be there relatively soon. In the next few weeks, we'll be excited for that show. A trade. It happened.
Yay.
Shams Charania and Woj dropped the bombs. Sources. The Lakers are sending the 2023 Chicago second-round pick, their own 29 second-rounder, and the Wizards/Lakers less favorable second-round pick in 2028. And Kendrick Nunn for Rui Hachimura. I want your two opinions on this, and then I'll give you mine.
Okay, well, just to start off, I think that this trade is going to do so much for the Lakers. I mean, a lot of people are acting like it's, you know, just nothing. But, at the end of the day, this is a guy that's shooting 40% on catch-and-shoot threes. He's averaging 13 points per game in 24 minutes. And I just think that he's going to play a really big role for them on defense, especially, you know, you're starting to play LeBron at the 4 a little bit more. So having somebody that's going to be able to cover the perimeter defensive side of the thing and then, you know, catch some threes. Now you move Lonnie Walker to the bench, too. I mean, that bench is really nice now.
How about you, Jamie?
So, I mean, the Lakers absolutely got a steal here, getting Rui Hachimura, a very young forward with a lot to prove out on the court. Really, only for Kendrick Nunn in 2 seconds. I mean, Kendrick Nunn. He's gonna play, but 3 seconds. Sorry, he's gonna play, but I don't know how serviceable he'll be for the Wizards.
Yeah.
Rui Hachimura, obviously, he's a great player. He's gonna do a lot for the Lakers. I don't like the Lakers, but this was an absolutely good trade.
I think it's an interesting move. It's the former 9th pick in the 2019 draft for the Wizards. They kind of just gave up on him. That's really what it shows. Yes, getting picks are nice, but they're second-round picks. It's very rarely for one to hit. Nikola Jokic hit, Draymond Green hit. Few and far between, you know, hits. So it's rare. Never know what those three can turn into. They're probably more likely to turn into other trade assets down the line. Then they also get K. Nunn. Good role player, but after his rookie and sophomore year, he's kind of fell off a little bit. From a Lakers standpoint, big W. I mean, they get a good young piece who I think still has untapped potential. And he's in a good... He'll probably start for this roster. Depends on how they run their lineups.
I think they will. They were saying he would.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But either way, this is a good pickup for the Lakers to try to make a push for not the play-in and an actual playoff team.
Yeah. They're a couple games out of it. They're like 2 or 3 games out of the, I think, 9 seed. So, I mean...
I think they're the 13th seed right now, actually, because it's so close. I think they're the 13th.
Them and the Blazers are a game off from the 10th seed. So, as of right now.
It's an extremely close Western Conference. It's going to be a fun rest of the season as we come into the All-Star break very soon. Contract extension, not for a player, but for Jamie's very own general manager.
Oh, yeah.
Gets a contract extension. How you feeling about this one, Jamie?
Yeah, so Monty McNair, we hired him just about 2 years ago after getting rid of Vlade Divac. And it has been an absolute dream come true. He's done everything possible to build this team into a complete contending roster. I mean, it's just been so long since the Kings have had something to be happy about, and now with Monte McNair getting a new deal, we're the 3rd seed in the West. We're 2 games ahead of 4th place. It finally seems like things are coming together in Sacramento, and with Monte McNair on an extension, it seems like we're here to stay for a good amount of time.
I love going through my Instagram feed and just seeing different players, depending on the night, smashing that beam button and lighting the beam, because I always do it in the stadium. I don't know if it's a real button or whatever, but it's fun. It's
fun.
Not,
yeah, it's not a real button.
They probably have a light switch when they click it. But either way, it's fun to watch, and I love seeing that on my Instagram.
Beam's going to be lit for a while.
It's going to be lit for a good amount of time, and I'm happy for Sacramento. I don't think they're probably a 2nd round exit.
Yeah.
I hate to break it to you.
It's fine, as long as we make the playoffs. We haven't made the playoffs in like 17 years.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I'm happy for the Kings fans, and especially my dear friend Jamie over
here.
here. Some injury news. Let's start off with the returns. Kevin Durant, there's optimism that Kevin Durant will return to action for the Nets ahead of the All-Star break.
Big W.
And play in the All-Star game, sources tell Shams Charania.
Big dubs.
Nick hates him.
Yeah, you're right.
So let's hear it. You can't hate greatness, though.
Oh, I don't hate greatness, but like I was saying a little bit earlier to Jamie, I think he's great. He's a top 3 scorer in the history of basketball, but I just don't. I don't know. I mean, we'll have to see. This squad that he has right now, I just don't see him getting past the 2nd round. If he's on another team, though, I mean, you can always count on him to get to the 3rd round, most likely. It's just too many egos, not enough good role players, and we'll get into who I think they should get later on.
I think they've turned their season around, though, in my opinion.
Yeah, but I mean, still at the end of the day, I'll get into it of why I don't
Sounds
think
good.
so.
We'll keep the suspense rolling a little bit. Another return, Brandon Ingram. After missing 2 months, it doesn't even really feel that long, but it's been 2 months due to a big toe injury. New Orleans Pelicans star Brandon Ingram will return tonight, as in Wednesday, January 25th, versus the Timberwolves, bearing any setback in pregame. So he's coming back tonight. Obviously, we can't give you the stats because today's Friday for the listeners, but what do you guys think he's going to do coming back after 2 months of inactivity?
I was going to say, it was a big toe injury, but it wasn't like a broken big toe. It was more of like a sprained or bruised big toe. And to be out for 2 months is a little over for me. He's kind of overreacting is what I meant to say. Like, it's just not that big of a deal. To be an NBA player, you have to get acclimated, and to not play through a toe injury just seems a little weird to me, especially for an all-star guy like Brandon Ingram. So hopefully he comes back to all-star form. We'll see how he does. I remember the game we went to, he was kind of shot chucking out there. So hopefully he gets his game back together and trusts the other stars on his team.
Yeah. Well, and what I kind of wanted to touch on was they were the 1st seed when he wasn't there, and it was Zion. So, I mean, I see no reason why they can't, climb back up there and make it harder for, the Kings and the Grizzlies to hold their positions, because the Pelicans have one of the most built-out rosters, just two-way. So, and Zion's looking, I think they were saying he'll be reevaluated in 2 weeks. So, I mean, when they have that squad fully healthy,
They'll be back to where they were before.
Yeah, and that's the 1st seed in the NBA. So,
we'll see what happens on that standpoint. Danny Green. I've been seeing this man on TV more than on the Memphis Grizzlies bench, but don't forget, he is a member of the Memphis Grizzlies. And with that said, 8 months after a severe left knee injury, Memphis Grizzlies guard Danny Green plans to make his season debut this coming February 1st against the Portland Trailblazers, and he broke this news. Like I said, he's been doing more media work than playing on the court, and he broke this news on his own podcast, the Green Room Podcast. What do you guys think about this? I mean, this is he's a good role player. He says he wants to spend at least a couple years here in Memphis. That's what he said on his podcast, that coming back, he feels like he can spend the last couple years of his career on this team and be a good key piece to possibly a contender. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I like it. I miss him in Philadelphia. A lot of miss him and Seth Curry. But, this is a guy that can provide some 3-and-D, and he's not wrong for wanting to be on this team. In a couple years, they'll be in the finals most likely.
If not this year.
Exactly. So he definitely picked the right choice of the team to, stay on.
I agree.
Yeah, so, I mean, I saw the news on Instagram today, and it was actually, I'm pretty sure, the first time I even heard he was on the Grizzlies. It's been that long since I've, heard him play basketball, so it's going to be good to have him back in the league. Hopefully he can actually make a few corner threes. I feel like every time I see him shoot nowadays, he's missing threes, but, hopefully he gets that shot back. He had a lot of time to, rehab, get that shot back, so, hopefully he helps the Grizzlies in any way possible.
He can do nothing but help him, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I agree, especially just his veteran presence, even on the bench. And then arguably, the biggest news of them all for injury returns.
Yep.
The LA Lakers star big man Anthony Davis will return to the lineup this Wednesday tonight versus the San Antonio Spurs, barring any setback. I feel like I've said that a couple times. Hopefully there's no setback, and he'll be playing tonight. Nick, I'm going to leave this one up to you because you're like the fake Lakers fan because of Russell Westbrook. How you feeling about AD returning, and what's this mean for the Lakers?
I mean, I'm feeling really good about it. I cannot lie. I think that this is about to put them over the edge, put them into the playoffs. I mean, I'm really high on them now. Anthony Davis was a MVP candidate and a D-boy candidate before he went down. That was without LeBron, and they were still winning games. Now Westbrook and LeBron have made the team being able to trend towards wins. So now when you have that and you got Rui, and when Lonnie Walker and Austin Reeves come back, I mean, that's one of the
Do you know when they're coming
teams.
back?
No, I mean, Austin Reeves, his injury shouldn't have been out this long. I think they kind of just maybe extended it a little bit so no teams will try to offer for him,
Because I didn't see that in any Woj or Shams news about them returning anytime soon. So,
but I mean, this is huge for the
This is huge,
especially defensively. When they've had I was telling Jamie about this the other day. They have a top 5 offense without Anthony Davis right now as far as their starting lineup. So,
And then last week, I believe I mentioned that Jonathan Isaac was coming back against the Celtics. Well, that game happened. In his first game back versus Celtics, he had 10 points. And I'll mention they beat the Celtics. And I'm going to go on a side note real quick. 23% of the Celtics losses this season are from the Orlando Magic. Take it however you want. I take it as no big deal because we're the best team in the NBA. But with that said, his first game back, he dropped 10 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, and 2 steals. I'm so glad to see Jonathan Isaac back in the league. We haven't seen him since the bubble. And he was doing what he does best, like Nick just said. 2 steals, 10 points. He could probably grab some more rebounds. He didn't have any blocks like he usually does, but I'm glad to see him back. And I'm going to mention him later when we get to the Orlando Magic on possible trade rumors. But I'm going to let you guys, what do you guys think about this?
He also did all of that on great efficiency. I'm pretty sure he went like 2 for 3 for threes, only missed maybe 2 shots on the night. So it was great to see him back. He's one of my personal favorite players in the league, one of the top defenders in the league, certainly a Defensive Player of the Year candidate in the years to come. So I'm very excited for Jonathan Isaac to finally be back on the court.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree.
A couple of players who are going out because of injuries. We just talked about returns. Let's go to the outs. Bobby Portis, Milwaukee Bucks key forward / center. Bobby Portis has suffered an MCL sprain in his right knee and will miss some time. No timetable as of now, but I think he'll be reevaluated. I saw in a follow-up tweet by Shams in a couple weeks. This is nothing major, but when it comes to the knee, it's never good. So you want to be as cautious as you possibly can. Steven Adams, the Grizzlies center, as we were just talking about the Grizzlies, he has a PCL sprain in his right knee, another knee injury, and is expected to be sidelined for 3 to 5 weeks. There's a timetable on that one, 3 to 5 weeks, which is obviously puts him after the All-Star break. Let's start off with the Bobby Portis one. How does this affect the Bucks?
I mean, this is huge for them because you're trading away Serge Ibaka. You're trying to find him a new home. You hope that that's a center coming in, but really you want a shooting guard if you're asking my opinion. But this is just not. This is terrible timing. I guess maybe the best thing to do would put Brook on the bench just so you don't lack defense and size.
But now if you're the Milwaukee Bucks, do you be like, hey, Serge, I know you want to be moved. We agreed to find a new home, but is this now where you're like, well, let's hold up and maybe keep him the rest of the year?
I would,
because you don't really have a pure backup center now.
Unless you're going out and signing DeMarcus Cousins, but I mean, which they did last year, and he played really good for him.
I don't get why he's not on the team. He always balls out.
It's crazy DeAndre Jordan is on a team.
Yeah.
He's not.
That's crazy to me. He's getting blackballed or something.
Yeah,
I mean, this Bobby Portis news might be, outside of if Giannis ever got hurt, one of the worst things that could happen to the Bucks. He's their 6th man. He is one of the best 6 men in the entire league as a big man. He is probably on a great defensive team, one of the best defenders in the NBA. He does it all on offense. So to have this happen to them so late into the league with playoffs, not right around the corner, but they're coming up. It's going to hurt team chemistry, especially with Serge Ibaka on the way out. This just sucks to, if you're Milwaukee.
How about the Steven Adams one for the Grizzlies?
I mean, you have Jaren Jackson, you have Xavier Tillman, you have depth.
You do have depth.
This isn't a hit,
Yeah.
You do have depth. But still, that's their starting.
It's going to hurt no matter what. I mean, that's their starting center. I know you have Jaren Jackson, but he's not going to be able to hold it all down on his own. So, the nicest guy in the league on, the Grizzlies, it's going to suck.
He might be able to hold it down.
We'll see, man. We'll see.
Let's jump into...
Oh, hold on. Real quick. There was some news that came out yesterday about the new All-Star draft layout. We didn't have it in the notes here. So the new news that came out is All-Star teams will be drafted right before tip-off of the All-Star game, something that we've never seen before. Usually they're drafted about 2-3 weeks beforehand, get the teams time to acclimate, get rosters down, lineups and rotations. Now we We don't have any time
There's
for
no
that.
practice.
There's no
There's
practice.
No media day, I guess. Unless they just do like a mutual media day.
Yeah, so it's all going down right before tip-off. I feel bad for whoever's the last pick because that dude's going to get flamed. But nonetheless, I'm not sure how I like this. I don't think I really like it at all. It just doesn't give... Who?
I don't know why I said that because I forget now.
Oh,
you guys
go ahead. You want to say it?
Yes, I like it. I really like it because it brings back this, old style of, pick-up basketball, where you just pick who you think is going to do the best. I like it. I mean, and like I was saying, if you're the last pick, that's always going to give you motivation to go out there and, do your thing.
Yeah, so. I get the pickup basketball note, but at the same time, it's a 13-man game, and to not have rotation set and, not have all of that mapped out, I think it's going to hurt. But, I mean, at that point, they're pretty much just saying, go out there, have fun, and do it.
Kevin Durant, I don't think it's his podcast, but he was on a podcast.
JJ,
No, it was with this random dude. They were sitting on the couch. I forget. I saw this yesterday when the new news came out, and they were talking about how he would really like to see just like more pickup basketball in the All-Star game. It would be really fun. I don't know when the timetable this was. It could have been last week. It could have been 2 months ago. It could have been 2 years ago. I don't know. I just remember I saw the clip when this new news came out, and he was saying how it'd be really cool if they picked it right before the All-Star game, like what's happening now, which would allow for a more calm and more pickup basketball style game. So that's what Kevin Durant said. So I think he might have had a little bit of input on this.
I think this is a new way to get KD to, snake into a new team and get another championship.
Yeah, no, but I actually didn't like this at first, but I really do like it now.
When you bring pickup basketball into it, I could definitely see the reason behind it.
Yeah, and also the teams are the captains are solidified. It's LeBron and Giannis.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Is it really? I didn't hear that. Should have been Luka. Luka would have been funny.
And now with segment number 2, we did it last week. We're doing it this week. We'll do it next week, and then the week after that, we have some news coming on that in future episodes. But let's get into it. Knicks trade rumors.
All right, so starting off, as we said earlier, Rui Hachimura got traded to the Lakers, but they actually were in talks prior to this. Rui Hachimura was going to go to the Phoenix Suns, and a 3-team trade would have sent George Hill and Ibaka over to the Washington Wizards, Crowder over to the Bucks, and like I said, Rui to Phoenix. So, that's kind of a weird one. I want to see Jake Crowder play basketball.
Yes, he got to go out there. He's such a serviceable player.
I know. I'm miss seeing him play.
He'd be a good pickup for the Bucks now.
Yeah,
Jake Crowder on the Bucks would be a beast.
He'd be great. It'd be like PJ Tucker. They won a championship with PJ Tucker. This is a better PJ Tucker.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, that's just huge. Obviously, I love him going to the Lakers, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Next up, we've touched on the John Collins rumors before, but it seems like another team is in the mix. New Orleans Pelicans.
Interesting.
No offer was made, but there is talks, according to Chris Haynes of Bleacher.
Everything with John Collins, I take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
Where has he been his whole career? The Hawks.
Yeah.
Where has there been rumors his whole career? On the Hawks, but nothing's ever happened.
Yeah, well, they actually came out and said they are no longer looking for a trade. They want John Collins and his agent to go out and look for a trade.
Huh.
Interesting.
I just don't think I like John Collins on the Pelicans. Him and
why
Zion
are
are
you
two
doing that?
offensive-heavy power forwards. They're both undersized.
Him off the bench?
Yeah.
I do think Jackson Hayes needs to get out of New Orleans because he
Definitely.
went from starting to backup center to now not even the rotation. We went to the game against the Hawks. He wasn't even in the rotation. He sat on the bench the whole
Larry
game.
Nance Jr.'s the backup.
Yeah,
So
that's
if
terrible.
the Hawks do get him, that'd be good. But they also have Ngaku, or what? I can't pronounce his last name. Ngeki.
Onyeka Okongwu.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So he's also another player that doesn't really have a role
I
on the
feel bad
team.
for him.
I feel bad for him too.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm just trying to think of a possible trade off the top of my head.
Yeah.
John Collins, Jackson Hayes has to be in that deal because he's a young asset. But then I don't really know what you give up.
Maybe Devontae Graham. I don't know.
But it doesn't really.
It's just weird,
Well, definitely Devontae Graham for contract because he's getting paid around
11,
12 million.
Yeah. But next up, a mystery team offered 3 first-round picks for OG Anunoby. What team do we think it is?
I could definitely see it being Sacramento. Me and Nick were talking about this earlier. I think OG Anunoby on the Sacramento Kings is what it takes to really take them over the hump. Not being a second-round exit, maybe being a Western Conference Finals appearance, maybe even in the NBA Finals. Like
you're not winning.
That team would be so well built, and they would run the West for a good amount. But I don't think that it would be the Kings to do that. I would love for it. There's a few other teams I could see doing it. OKC.
They have all the assets in the world.
Yeah.
Sam Presti, right? Yeah, Sam Presti and the Thunder. They have all the assets a planet can possibly give a team. So he has more assets than teams combined.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it would probably be him to do out some picks.
Personally, I was thinking it's Phoenix.
I don't know if they have enough because
they have first, because that's how Chris Paul is going to get potentially get out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they also gave up a lot of firsts too for the build the team they have.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm
Especially
just
together.
thinking that's what it is. Like that's what I said that earlier. I was like, they might try and run him at the 4, Cal at the 3.
We were talking about that.
Booker at the 2, Fred VanVleet at the 1.
Yeah, I just don't like that. There's no playmaking on that team, and Fred VanVleet and Booker are like the exact same players.
Fred VanVleet would be on that trade too.
Yeah.
Where's CP go?
Raptors.
To Raptors. That's just why. That just ruins CP. If CP gets traded to any team like the Raptors or on that level, he's over.
I think it.
I don't think Chris Paul needs a ring. I think it would be good or beneficial for him at some point for, like, if he did go to the Raptors and the Raptors start selling, getting picks, to start, training up those young guys that are in Toronto, like Scotty Barnes. I know. I just think he's past his prime, and I don't think there's really a chance.
Way past his prime. I hate to say it, but he's just washed.
Yeah.
I don't think he's starting level point guard anymore.
I don't know, because 2 years ago he was in the finals. He was playing great.
Yeah, but that's 2 years.
That was
he's
2
been
years
through
ago.
some injuries, and
it was
now
just this year he started being
terrible.
bad. Yeah.
Like, he's playing awful this season.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. He's up there with LeBron, so
yeah,
for age-wise. But LeBron ages like a fine wine, I guess.
He does. So I'll get us started with our main segment, trade scenarios, dream scenarios for each team in the Eastern Conference. Starting off, I got the Pistons. I classify them, as a rebuilding team. They have extremely valuable pieces that they could get for multiple first-round picks. Bogdanovich, who has been playing spectacular this season, posting 22 points per game on 42% from 3. They have Nerlens Noel, Corey Joe, who has been in prison there since 2020. He's always been on bad teams since he won that ring in 2014. But to me, the smartest thing to do would be moving Nerlens and Bogey in the same deal. I would sell them to a buying team such as the Kings, Sixers, Heat, Lakers, and Clippers. But if I'm picking a team, I'm going with the Lakers because they're gonna do something stupid.
What assets do you have in though?
2 first-round picks and Patrick Beverly.
Beverly.
They'll do it.
I don't know.
The Pistons will do that for
Pistons,
sure.
Yeah.
But the Lakers are just stupid. They're just misguided.
They finessed the Wizards.
They did finesse the Wizards, but that's the first good trade they've done since they got Anthony Davis.
Yeah, it's been a while.
So that's what I would say.
For me, we're just doing this in who has the worst record to best record in the Eastern Conference. So we'll go around. We'll go with the Pistons. I say move Bogdanovich if you can, but it's such a big contract to try to move, especially to a contender. I don't really think you can move that contract without giving up a big contract. And the team that would have a big contract like this would be the Pistons because they have a lot of the young players on very low deals. So they have the cap space to eat up a big contract like this and give out a big contract like they did. So I don't really see him moving anytime soon, especially this season, maybe towards the offseason. I just think it's too big of a contract to try to move when you're the team that can eat a big contract like that. Players they could move to try to get a few assets in return would be Nerlens Noel, Alec Burks, Rodney Magruder for a few seconds. You can maybe get a first from a really good team, but obviously they'll be able to get a first-round pick.
Noel.
I agree. But like I said, just get rid of some of those older guys on the roster like Noel, Alec Burks, and Magruder who don't deserve to be there. They deserve to be on a solid team and be good role players. Like I said, for some seconds, I feel like they could get that maybe like a late first-round pick.
So for Detroit, for me, I am going all in on Victor Wembanyama. I think it's time to sell a few of your young guys and start looking at the future.
Young guys?
Killian Hayes.
Young guys like Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey. Don't trade them. Don't trade them. No, I'm not trading them. I'm trading somebody like Sadiq Bey, who
I think you're the 15th seed. You don't need a trade.
I don't know, but it's going to be a hard.
Isaiah Stewart.
I also have Isaiah Stewart on here.
I don't know why.
I would just say if you're looking at trading Sadiq Bey, a team's going to give up a lot for him. You're going to really build up your future. Teams like Utah, Indiana, Dallas, and Minnesota are probably teams who would they'd benefit in somebody like Sadiq Bey. Get a couple picks for him. As for Isaiah hates LeBron James Stewart, I let him go somewhere he can get meaningful minutes. You can get a pick for him somewhere like Miami, Brooklyn, and New Orleans. Teams who could use a big, I think he'd be great in New Orleans as the backup center. Yeah. You could run him at the 4 behind Zion, especially, him being so injury prone. He can get minutes out in New Orleans. Rack up as many picks and losses as possible and go all in on your future.
You're already the worst team in the league, though.
I don't know. It's the Rockets. I think the Rockets are up there and somebody else in the West. So I'm just trying to beat them out as being even worse.
I guess if you want to, but in my opinion, I feel like you're already bad. And you're just going to keep getting, you're not going to get any better, obviously.
I think...
Why not just keep Sadiq Bey?
I think keeping Sadiq Bey is more...
Who are still on their, rookie deals. So if you get Wembanyama and you start getting better, you have those guys on very low contracts who can be great depth pieces. I mean, I do get where you're coming from, but maybe next year if you're still really bad.
I get that, but I think trading Isaiah Stewart is better. I can get behind keeping Sadiq Bey as that starting small forward for your time. I think getting rid of somebody like Isaiah Stewart is beneficial.
Yeah.
I think he needs great minutes somewhere. He's a really great player.
I can agree he deserves more minutes.
Next up, I got the future home of Brandon Miller.
Interesting.
Charlotte Hornets.
All right.
I like that.
It's going to happen.
Hopefully.
Remember me saying it. They are rebuilding, obviously, with LaMelo being their only legit young talent, the only guy that's going to be able to pay.
I believe Mark Williams, but
Mark Williams, yeah.
But we don't know. We don't know.
I feel like he'll be good. I forgot about Mark Williams, but them two, that's really all you have. And you have all these multi-year contracts that would just be amazing to get off the team, such as Rozier, Hayward, even Mason Plumlee. They overpaid him.
No one wants him.
Yeah,
it's gonna be a hard contract.
But let's be honest, that's not happening. With Chris Paul in the news and the Suns envisioning a future without him, this would be a perfect opportunity to get Rozier's contract off the team and buy out Chris Paul. That's just what I think would be a dream scenario for them. You buy out Chris Paul's contract, you get Rozier over to Phoenix for basically you're gaining $20 million back in cap space. That was a trade that was in the Suns, rumors for who they were wanting to get. And Rozier will be a nice piece to have over there, I feel like. That's a great scoring backcourt. I just feel like that's the only thing you can do. Continue to sell, continue to get worse.
I like that. I feel like Rozier does have to get moved. Gordon Hayward's going to be really hard to move. No one wants to take that contract. They're going to have to eat that contract until it expires, or at least he's on his last year of the deal, which I believe is next year, because he's on the third year right now, so after next season. I say free book night, though. He deserves a better role on a better team. Maybe not even a better team, but I think he deserves a six-man role to see what he can do, because he's a great offensive player when he gets minutes, but he hasn't really gotten enough minutes. But going back to Rozier, I have a few mock trades I came up with. The Mavericks, they're a team that really needs like a second hand to Luka.
Like a Jalen Brunson kind.
I think they could give up Hardaway and Davis Bertans for a contract.
It's a huge contract.
Yeah, but exactly. The Hornets can eat like the Pistons, the Hornets can eat big contracts, these bad teams who have a lot of young players who want small deals, so they can afford to eat that bad contract. Or the Heat. They trade Duncan Robinson on maybe one of arguably the worst contracts in the league. I was looking at it. He's getting paid $19 million until like 2026.
He got the third worst deal.
And he doesn't even really play. Mm-hmm. I mean, great for him. He's got the bag. He gets to sit there and just make upwards of $20 million almost a year. But with that said, I think this would be a perfect trade for both sides. The Heat get a player that can help them contend, because Kyle Lowry's kind of slowing down in age. I don't say move him. I say you keep Kyle Lowry. But Duncan Robinson, Caleb Martin, and a few second-round picks, send them over to the Hornets. Caleb Martin gets to play with his twin brother again, goes back to the Hornets, I believe. I just think this is really just a deal for the Hornets to sell Rozier and the Miami Heat to get better.
Yeah, for Charlotte, it's all these contracts that they have. All these big contracts make it so hard for other teams to try and move in and make a deal. Like, I think Gordon Hayward is somebody you should try and ship out, but that huge contract just makes it almost impossible to get him out. I think trying to acquire somebody like Cam Reddish or Obi Toppin would be very beneficial. Two young guys you can build around, and if you do bring in Brandon Miller, Cam Reddish would be great off the bench. You can even start Obi Toppin. LaMelo Ball and Obi Toppin, I mean, come on.
Downgraded Miles Bridges.
Yeah. Maybe you could try and send P.J. Washington to the Knicks and try and acquire Cam Reddish and Obi Toppin. Obi, he's been a bust. He's only averaging 7 a game. Cam Reddish, he's getting virtually no minutes. So
he's not even playing.
Yeah, so maybe send P.J. Washington over. And then I would also try and get rid of Mason Plumlee, but nobody wants him. He's the worst center I've ever watched in my entire life. So, if it was possible.
I think he can be really
good. I think he can play better defense than Isaiah Hartenstein.
I'm just saying shooting-wise. If you want
that, if he's coming off the bench for Mitchell Robinson, that's fine.
I would say send him to a team who needs a backup center like the Nets, the Bucks, the Bulls, the Pelicans, etc.
I like that from the Nets, yeah.
The Nets, like behind Nick Claxton, they have nobody.
That's it.
Yeah, so I would try and send him to the Nets.
Yeah, I like that. Next up, I got Orlando, who is going to have the tallest lineup in NBA history in about 2 years.
Yeah.
Quick side note, that's why the Celtics list them every time, because Robert Williams was out, right? He was out for the first 2 matchups as well. We are so much smaller than them. They just overpower us. Sorry, go ahead. That's my excuse.
I got you. It's very difficult to think of a trade to make sense with the high number of big men on the team. Like I was saying, you got Wendell, Isaac, Bencaro, Bull. I listed Bencaro twice. And you got Mo Bamba. And that's what I think they should do. Look to get Mo Bamba off the team.
Really?
He's a free agent in 2 years, and they're not going to want to pay him a bunch of money whenever you already have John Isaac, who I'm assuming you're keeping Bobo as your backup center of the future. I assume you're doing that because you got him locked up for a couple more years. And Mo Bamba, he can service you as a starting big man on any team. I'd rather have him. I think he could start.
I don't really like Mo Bamba.
I think he's a great defender. He does not have to give any sort of effort on offense. Just full out.
He's very good on defense. He blocks everything.
On defense.
Yeah.
So I feel like with that being said, you just trade him to. I was thinking he has like an $11 million, around that type of deal. I think it's 2 years for $20 million, something like that. But I think the smartest thing to do would move him to the Clippers. But this is kind of weird for Rocco. And the reason I say this is because who is their backup center? I think they're running Rocco at center. So,
Yeah.
Liv Zubac.
Yeah, well, he's obviously the starting center. Yeah.
Backup, he'd be great.
But, yeah, you get Henry to come in there and play the backup center.
What are you going to have to give up, though?
Rocco.
Give up Rocco? You're going to have to give up more than that.
I don't think.
To the
Rocco
Magic?
or maybe one first.
Yeah, you have to throw it first.
Yeah, Rocco in a first. That's what I think. Rocco in a first. So.
For me, I just really think you can't really do a lot. You're a bad team, but with great young talent, you just got to let them develop. I don't really think you have to make too many trades at all. I do want to touch on Jonathan Isaac real quick. I think you keep him the rest of this year. You're not going to trade him the next 2 weeks. He just got back.
Yeah.
Really, no one's going to want him because you don't really know where he's going to be. Let him play out this season. Maybe at the trade deadline next year, because he's under wraps for another couple of years. If he hasn't really, gotten back to his old ways or really developed in any real meaningful way while you have all these other big men around him, then you can move him. I don't think you do anything now. Terrence Ross. Free Terrence Ross. He has been on the Magic for a long 7 years. He has the longest tenured Magic on the roster. He was on the Raptors. A great role player. He started. Came to the Magic, started for a very long time. Evan Fournier came in, he took his role. And now he's just sitting on the bench. He plays. Just free Terrence Ross. I was thinking the Hawks would be a really good trade for him, just for Justin Holiday, plus the Maurice Harkless trade exception they have. Not a big deal. I just think that's a team that could use Terrence Ross to just help them out. They're kind of middling, and that'd be a good piece for them off the bench.
Yeah, for Orlando, this is another team where I don't think they need to do much. You have everything you need. You're young. You have a fantastic future with all of those picks and all those tall guys, a lot of youth. So I think moving Terrence Ross would probably be the best thing for them. Send him to a contender so he can go and win a ring. I'm sure Orlando, that's what they want for him. I don't think he'll ever get one in Orlando. He's going to age out by the time. So send him to a contender, get a few picks out of him, maybe a couple seconds. I mean, if somebody wants to offer a first for him, I don't think anybody does. I don't think anybody does, but get a couple seconds out of him and, go along your way. Just get Terrence Ross out of there. Let him go get a ring if you're Orlando.
Yeah, I agree. Next up, I have the Raptors, who at this point are trending towards a rebuild. With the Fred VanVleet news, Pascal Siakam news, it just seems like that's what's happening, which is a smart thing by one of the best GMs in the league, Ujaya.
Oh, I can't even. I just had his name on. Masai Ujiri. Yeah.
Masai Ujiri. But they're just in a very weird place. They're currently at the 12 seed. A couple games out the play-in. They're in and out of the play-in every couple of games. They're just like the Miami Heat, who are not 6 seed, which is crazy. But as I was saying, Suns are looking to get CP off the team. For me, though, the smartest thing to do would work a deal with the Clippers. So they don't have a starting level point guard on the team. John Wall, he's good, but at this point, he's the same as Russ. I just don't know if they're starting level point guards anymore. You could easily get Rocco and Terrence Mann and a late first round pick, either from 2027 to 2029. I think that's all you got to do. I match the contracts up. That would be all you got to do.
I like Terrence Mann.
For VanVleet, and that's why I asked you earlier, do you think Paul George could do playmaking for a team, which I think he could. He's played with so many good point guards. I just feel like he could do that. And the Raptors, they're trending towards a rebuild. They're just trying to get one of the most overpaid players in the league off the roster.
They have to pick a direction. You either blow it up completely, not completely, but you know what I mean, or they have to trade some pieces for another superstar on the Kawhi spectrum of things like they did a few years ago, and look where that ended up. They got a ring. I don't see that avenue happening. I see them taking a left and really blowing it up. They have some contracts they can offload. They're paying Fred VanVleet this year, and he has a player option this summer for $22 million. He's obviously going to accept that $22 million because he's not going to get anywhere near that on the open market. Gary Trent Jr., he has a player option for $18 million this summer. Same thing. He's going to accept that because he's not getting anything near $18 million on the open market this summer as well. And then Chris Boucher, he's under contract for around $10 to $11 million per year until the end of the 24-25 season. So he's under wraps for a while. For a lot of money, for someone who's beneficial, but that's a lot of money wrapped up for your backup power forward center. I think you got to trade VanVleet, trade Gary Trent, and try to offload Chris Boucher, his contract. I just don't know if it's going to happen at the deadline. I mean, Fred VanVleet, yes. Gary Trent, I don't know. It's just going to be hard. Unless you find the perfect deal for someone like Chris Paul, if you can really buy that one out. But I don't really see a great deal happening. There's really, yes, we've heard rumors, but there's nothing really concrete that's been really talked about.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about that?
I mean, I agree what you're saying. I mean, bigger direction, and I mean, I think they're trending towards the rebuild.
Yeah, that's what I have them at. Toronto Raptors, I have them as a selling team, just getting rid of everything. They've been one of the most disappointing teams this year, and it hasn't even been really close. So I think it's time to blow it up. Move Fred VanVleet. Maybe try and get some picks out of him. Maybe you go out and get Chris Paul, if that's what you really want to do. So I guess you could try and send Fred VanVleet to the Suns. I like what you were talking about with him. I guess you could have D-Book as your playmaker. Maybe if you're the Suns, you can also try and go get a real playmaker like Monte Morris, something like that. So I can see Fred VanVleet getting moved to the Suns. I would say trade OG Anunoby for some picks. He's a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. Send him to Sacramento or send him to somewhere where he can contend.
I just think he can be part of that rebuild, though. Because he's young enough. Him and Scotty Barnes.
He's 25, but again...
he's perfectly young enough.
Yeah, I just think if somebody offers you 3 first-round picks, it's very hard to say no to that.
I agree with that.
I think you unload him if you get the right price.
I agree, but him and Scotty Barnes, I feel like they could be the centerpiece of that rebuild, unless you're getting like we just talked about, a big offer that you can't say no to.
Don't. If you get that right offer, I would move OG Anunoby. And lastly, you have Chris Boucher. He's been pretty underwhelming for, he's pretty mid, and he's getting, like what you said, paid a lot of money. So move him to a team who needs a backup center. Again, Brooklyn is in that conversation. You have Miami, New Orleans. So there's a few teams out there that could use Chris Boucher's service. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I think it's time for the Raptors to, start rebuilding.
Yeah, I agree. So next up, who do you expect to be here? The Washington Wizards, who have been the 11th seed for 15 years now. But, they're behind for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get that. Their management is just stuck in their ways, thinking that they're a legit playoff team, which is not the case in the slightest. Beal is not a winning first option, very much like Dame. They're just not going to – they're not able to be a first option on a championship level team.
They don't run from the grind.
It's not their skill set.
But I think he can be a first option on a good team.
Yeah, but I just don't see them leading a team to, a deep playoff run.
No, but I think they could get the 5th seed. Not this year, but...
Yeah. Well, and also Kuz, he's not saving you. Porzingis has been spectacular for them this year. One of the better big men in the league. Happy to say that. But he isn't all that at the end of the day. The dream trade for them would be to get some of those vets off the team for some draft capital.
I agree.
Teams like the Bucks are more than willing to give you the majority of their seconds. They offered the Rockets 3 second-round picks for Eric Gordon. They declined that. But, so I would keep my eyes on the dump of Monte Morris to the Bucks for 4 second-round picks. So that's what I see happening.
I like that. I mean, they just made the trade for K. Nunn in 3 seconds, so I don't see anything really major happening, but I do agree. I wrote this down. Someone like Barton, Monte Morris, or DeLon Wright try to get those contracts off the book. Obviously, Kuzma and KP aren't going to get traded. Kuzma and KP seem very content in their situations. After trading Rui, this really shows Kuzma that this is their man for the future, their power forward for the future after offloading Rui, who they were competing for minutes.
Yeah.
So they're probably Kuzma's going to get paid this summer by the Wizards most likely, and then KP, he's really turned back into the unicorn. So I'm happy to see that for the Wizards. I think they can really turn into a 5th, 6th seed in the East once they're really get a full season under their belt together.
Yeah.
Yes, for Washington, I don't really think they need to do a ton. I have them down as buyers. You have Bradley Beal, Kyle Kuzma, and Kristaps Porzingis, a solid core of 3 guys that you can build around, try and get a good roster off of. You already sent off Rui Hachimura, you brought in Kendrick Nunn, and I think a lot of teams are going to really want a guy like Monte Morris.
Yeah.
I was doing a little research earlier today, and Monte Morris is the 3rd highest passer rating in the NBA. I think there's a lot of teams out there who really need a true playmaker and a true passer. So I think sending out Monte Morris, maybe overselling him a little bit, trying to see who out there wants a real passer, you can get something good out of him. So if I'm Washington, that's really all I think you need to do is get Monte Morris out.
Yeah. Next up is the Bulls. Another buying team who is just kind of in a weird place as a franchise. They're struggling with playmaking and defense. If I'm the Bulls, though, I'm focusing on that defense more. Considering that you have Dosunmu, Caruso, and Kobe, I mean, that's just, that's a good, playmaking squad to have Alonzo's out for the next whole season. But, the dream trade to me would be getting Drummond and Kobe White out for Jared Vanderbilt and Rudy Gay.
Ooh. Okay.
Adds a lot of defense. Pat Williams, he's not the best interior defender. And so, I would say once the DeRozan, Zach LaVine era is over, you move Pat over to the 3. You have Jared Vanderbilt at the 4. And I guess Tony Bradley at the 5.
What are the Bulls? I posed
I
that
legit
question.
have them down as unsure.
Yeah,
I don't know what they are.
I wrote down, I posed the question, what are the Bulls? I can't really give a good answer. Lonzo Ball is expected to miss the whole season this year with a foot issue, so I can't really tell you who they are because Lonzo Ball runs that offense through and through. He's not going to give you 20 points a game, but he's going to give you 11 assists a game, and he's making that team go left, right, and center. He's kind of like a Rajon Rondo where he is directing that offense because we sure know Zach LaVine is not doing that. He's just going to chuck it up. DeMar DeRozan is better at it, but he's also going to chuck up a shot as well. So we don't really know who they are, at least in my opinion, who they are until Lonzo Ball comes back next year when he does. But I wouldn't mind seeing them try to find some value in trading, I hate to say it, but Patrick Williams. He reminds me of a Rui.
Interesting.
He was a very highly thought of rookie coming into the league. He was a very high lottery pick, I believe, like the 6th, 7th pick, if not a little higher, like around the 5th pick for the Bulls. And he really hasn't panned out offensively. Defensively, he had comparisons to Kawhi Leonard. Defensively, he's there. He has the perimeter defense. I agree, low post, not the best, but perimeter defense, he locks you up. He's the claw in that aspect. Offensively, it really hasn't panned out on the NBA parquet, so I think you could possibly move him. Do I see it happening at the deadline? No, because it really hasn't. There's been no talks about it, but he does remind me of a Rui, that he just hasn't really shown his full potential, but he has shown flashes of his potential. I just don't really know where he is as well. 6 out of the 15 guys on the roster are off the payroll after this season expires, so that frees up a lot of money for them. So I see them more doing stuff this offseason versus right now, especially Nikola Vucevic, where his contract is gone after this year. He's getting paid a lot of money to really, he's fallen off. So I'm glad that money's getting off the books for the Bulls. So right now I don't see them doing much except trying to see what they can possibly do, but I really see them doing a lot this offseason.
So as for Chicago, I have them down as unsure. I don't know if they're buyers. I don't know if they're sellers. They're just right in the middle. So I just have them down as unsure. So they have a lot of talent, but injuries have slowed them down, obviously, with like Lonzo Ball. I would look to move Derrick Jones Jr. He's your backup center, and he's 6'7".
Drummond.
Yeah, they have Derrick Jones Jr. ahead of him in the depth chart. So I'm not sure what the Bulls are doing there. So I would also look to eventually move somebody like Kobe White or Ayo Dosunmu because Lonzo's going to come back. Kobe White, he kind of got shoved out of the rotation, so I'm not sure what you're going to do with him. So you could move him, at the deadline. I think you wait a little bit once Lonzo comes back. But obviously move Derrick Jones Jr. I think they could benefit with a guy like Jay Crowder or PJ Washington, but obviously you need rebounding. I saw a thing the other night where I think last night or whatever their last game was, in the second half of the game, Nikola Vucevic and Patrick Williams, who are the 4 and the 5, combined for 0 rebounds in the second half of their last game.
Wow. And
that is your starting center and power forward. They each played like 15 minutes apiece in the second half. No rebounds. So I think you really got to look into somebody like a Chris Boucher, a Jakob Poeltl, somebody who's going to bring in size and rebounding to, actually combat that, because that is very, very disappointing. So, that's the Chicago Bulls for you.
Next up, I have the Pacers, rebuilding / on the come up. They're not rebuilding at this point anymore. You just got to keep on building and getting your guys to improve. But smartest thing to do is get Buddy off the table, and turn into a stupid team like the Lakers.
Everything's the Lakers.
Yeah, well, because they're gullible and they have a very stupid front office. But I would say trade them to the Lakers because they love Buddy Hield over there for Patrick Beverly, 2027 first round pick and 2029 first round pick.
You have to throw some more money on the table, though.
Oh, no. Pacers have money.
They have money to eat, right?
Yeah, they have money to eat.
They're in a much better spot than everyone thought they were going to be coming into this season, so they have a choice to make. Buy at the deadline, like you were saying. Well, I guess you were saying so. But buy at the deadline to try to move out of the plane and try to snag that 6th, 5th seed, which I think they can if they want to go that direction. Or sell and most likely still make the play-in, but get some money off the books for this coming off season, such as Buddy Hield is making 21 and 19. I wouldn't mind seeing them get that money off the books. Daniel Tice, who finally has come back after knee surgery, he's getting paid $8, then $9 million, and then a $9 million team option, which they'll probably decline. And then T.J. McConnell, who's getting paid $21 million over the next 3 years. I love T.J. McConnell. he's a good player who's going to give you 8 assists, 8 points, and like 5 rebounds at a very small height of 6 feet tall, which is like 5 feet tall in the NBA. So he's going to do his thing out there always. I just think you could get 3 of those contracts off the book. At least one of them would really be beneficial for them coming into this offseason, where they can maybe make some moves, try to make some other trades, because this team is on the cusp. Give them a year or two, or even next year, they're going to be a top 4 seed in the East.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, so for Indiana, I think they're buyers. This is a fantastic team. You have your centerpiece in Tyrese Halliburton. You got Benedict Mathurin, and I think you keep bringing in more young guys. And New York is another team I'm looking at. Try and bring in a guy like Cam Reddish or Obi Toppin. I like Obi Toppin a lot because I think you just got to bring him in with a point guard who's a lob threat. That's why I had him going with LaMelo Ball in Charlotte, and I think he'd be great with Tyrese Halliburton in Indiana. So just keep getting young for Indiana. Maybe try and send a pick over to the Knicks or Buddy Hield if they want to take on that contract. Acquire Cam Reddish and Obi Toppin. I just think that would be a fantastic move if you're the Pacers.
Like you were saying, finally though, the Knicks are back. And with Hartenstein being their backup big, like I was touching on earlier, I do not love that. Also with Fournier, Rose, Quickly, who have not been good this season. Smartest thing to do would, in my opinion, the Wizards. You call them up and you say, "Can I get Daniel Gafford for Quickly and Rose?" And they have a pretty nice depth chart at center. I don't remember his name, but they got another guy down there that could definitely play some center minutes. But I just say you're already 11 seed and you're not beating out the Bulls for that 10 seed spot, so you might as well just sell. There's just no reason not to at this point. Get Daniel Gafford in. That'd be really nice. Him and Isaiah Hartenstein could run that backup, front court. So
for the Knicks.
Yeah.
So there's many rumors surrounding the Knicks players, such as their young talent Quickly, but reports are that they were reluctant to part ways with him because he has 2 years left on his deal, up to $6 million. So they kind of just want to see what he's going to turn into, if anything. But I think we all can agree, free Cam. That's really all I got to say on this. And this is free Cam. Let's get him to I don't care what team, just a team where he can play minutes, and let's see what he can do. Because I still believe he has star potential, and he has not been able to showcase that one bit. So I don't care if he goes to the mat. Well, that wouldn't really work. I don't care what team he goes to. Just give this man some minutes, and I just want to see what he can do. Evan Fournier, that's a big contract. That's going to be hard to move, but they could package him and Cam Reddish, send them somewhere. But really, that's just going to be a beneficial thing for Cam. I think Evan Fournier, he's just going to have to burn that contract somewhere. But he's going to get paid, but he's not really a big thing. I just think they package the two.
Yeah, so I'm the same here with New York. I'm really just trying to get Obi Toppin and Cam Reddish out of here.
Why Obi Toppin?
Because he's getting underutilized. He's second on the depth chart, only averaging 7 points a game. He's playing minimal minutes. He's not even playing that often. So what's the point of even having him? You can get something in return for him. Somebody who can play minutes. Somebody like a P.J. Washington.
I just don't know how good he really is, though.
I think people want...
I
just think there's teams out there who like potential in guys. There's a lot of guys who, with potential, that's why we're trying to say free Cam Reddish. He has potential.
Yeah, but in college it showed. And same with Obi
Toppin.
He's always been a lob threat.
That's all though.
That's really
maybe a little bit of defense.
That's why I'm saying send Obi Toppin.
Potential to be like everything. Brandon Ingram.
Yeah, that's or Paul George. That's why I'm saying send Obi Toppin to somewhere like Indiana or Charlotte, somewhere with guys who can give them that lob.
I feel like Charlotte would be his best scenario.
Cam Reddish, legit send him anywhere. Not anywhere, just to a team that can actually utilize him. Philly, they can use him.
Toby.
Sacramento could use him. Just give the man a chance. It's all I want, man.
That's what we want.
Yeah. Next up, we have the Heat. Also in a very...
Skip the Hawks.
Yeah, where's the Hawks?
You're good.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we have the Atlanta Hawks. Are they not the 8 seed?
They are the 8 seed, but you went to the Knicks. We just kind of let it slide.
Oh, okay.
I was going to that. Did something switch up when I wasn't looking?
No, you're good. Let's go to the Hawks.
Okay, so the Atlanta Hawks, for whatever reason, they really want to get John Collins off the team. So dream trade for them. I touched on it earlier. I think you got to go to Utah and get Jared Vanderbilt out of there and Jordan Clarkson. They lack defense. Clint Capella is good at defense, but having them two down there on the post, then you have Jordan Clarkson come off the bench. That would put them easily where the Miami Heat are right now.
That'll make them a lot better. I can agree with that. I think you have to really check out the buyout market if you're the Hawks and just keep an eye on the Terrence Ross situation. Like I mentioned, when we were in Orlando, sending Ross to the Hawks, I had that trade as a possibility. So it's just vice versa on that standpoint. But as we mentioned at the beginning of the show with Nick, the Pelicans have interest in John Collins, but there hasn't really been much talks. But no offer has been made, according to Chris Haynes of Bleacher Report. But again, I'll reiterate it. Ross for Justin Holiday / the Maurice Hartless trade exception. I think Terrence Ross is along the line of a Jordan Clarkson. Will be a good role player off the bench. Jordan Clarkson will be way better because he can give you 20 points a night. I don't really think Terrence Ross is at that point anymore in his career, but he can give you around 13, 15 points a night in the right amount of minutes. So we'll see what happens with the Hawks. I don't see anything major happening from them, even though they could and probably should make a splash because they're kind of a middling team, but just they have the roster built. I just think they need to be something else just has to flick a switch.
Yeah, so for Atlanta, obviously the John Collins news, he's been rumored to be traded for like ever. And so I think if now is going to be the time John Collins goes, I'm in the mind of Mark Cuban, and I'm hearing all the stuff of get Luka help, and I'm like, you know what? Let's get Luka some help.
So you trading Christian Wood?
No, I'm not trading Christian Wood.
Oh, okay.
I'm just sending Dorian Finney-Smith, Frank Ntilikina, and a first-round pick over to Atlanta for John Collins.
Darn good first-round pick.
And I feel like you got to give Dwight Powell to them.
Dwight Powell, sure.
Instead of
so I'm bringing in. Well, if I do get rid of Frank Ntilikina, that's when I bring up Jaden Hardy, give him a chance to play some minutes. He's their backup two guard, so that's all I'm saying. I could definitely throw in Dwight Powell instead of Frank Ntilikina, but if I'm Dallas, I could definitely use John Collins. You have Collins at the 4, Christian Wood at the 5, and Luka benefits 1,000,000% from that. So
I agree. I like it obviously for the Mavericks, but how does this benefit the Hawks?
You're getting Dorian Finney-Smith.
He's a good defender.
He's a great defender,
he does not
which
compare to anything.
Well, I'm saying because John Collins is not the greatest defender, where Dorian Finney-Smith's a much better rebounder and defender, where John Collins is going to bring that offensive help that Luka needs so badly. So I just think it helps on both ends.
Yeah, I can see it. I get where you're going. Next up, the Heat. This team, Peter's turned off, has such a hole at power forward, and it shows. They get killed by every team's big man. If y'all would have had Robert Williams last night, it would have been over to me because they didn't have Jimmy Butler playing. So every time that a big man plays them, the Sixers, we kill them every time. But smartest thing to do would be to draw Collins off the Hawks or get Jay from the Suns. I don't see it. Collins is not going to the Miami Heat. They don't have any assets for that. So the best thing to do would be give Duncan Robinson and a first-round pick and 2 second-round picks to the Phoenix Suns for.
I have the exact same thing. I got the exact same thing.
I like that.
Because recently the Suns declined to trade for Duncan Robinson and Jay Crowder straight up. So, if you add in a few picks in for that, it's hard for them to say no.
I agree with that. For the Heat, they got to keep a close eye on the Terry Rozier situation in Charlotte. I think that'd be a perfect addition. As I mentioned, with the Hornets, vice versa, with a couple times here, sending Rozier to the Heat when I was talking about the Hornets. But a Heat trade Duncan Robinson, Caleb Martin in a few seconds for Rozier. I think they could do that because you got to add Duncan Robinson's big contract in there. Like I said, the Hornets can afford to eat Duncan Robinson's horrendous contract, so it won't really be a big deal there. On other players, we're talking about bigs. Serge Ibaka has been rumored. They're finding a new home for him in Milwaukee. I don't know how that's going to go down now that Bobby Portis is out, but we'll keep it as if they're going to still move him. Serge Ibaka has also been reported, like I said, targeting the Heat would not be bad. So what do you guys think about Serge Ibaka to the Heat?
I think it's great. Again, they have a hole at the backup center. You have Dwayne Dedmon back there. He's old, not as serviceable as he used to be. They have another backup center. I can't remember off the top of my head. No, he's last on the depth chart. They had somebody else, but he wasn't that great from what I remember.
Omar U7.
Yeah, him. So I think Miami would be great with Serge Ibaka. He brings a lot of defense, and he's a stretch, which I think they could use considering they're one of the worst. Yeah, considering they're one of the worst. He's not going to start over Bam Adebayo.
Oh, at the 4.
At the 4, yeah, he definitely could. I think he'd be a great stretch. But for Miami, personally, I think you move Duncan Robinson and some picks for Jay Crowder. You got to bring him in. You're one of the worst shooting teams in the league. You shoot a lot of them. You don't make many of them. So bring in Jay Crowder. You'll help with that.
Get to the finals with Jay Crowder.
Yeah, that'll help with that a lot. But I'm also looking at a guy like Fred VanVleet, seeing what I could do with him. There's Kyle Lowry out there. You could trade for him because right now, all Kyle Lowry really does is play defense and flop. He just flops. Gets a couple passes in here and there, and takes a lot of charges. So, again, they're one of the worst shooting teams in the league, and you bring in a guy like Fred VanVleet, trade Kyle Lowry and a few picks, get him.
Back to the Raptors.
Yeah, I think that'd be pretty good.
With that, yeah.
Yeah, maybe he can retire as a Raptor.
Yeah,
maybe that's all he ever wanted.
Will do that.
Yeah.
But Now we're getting into our contenders. Starting off, Cleveland Cavaliers. Best two-way team in basketball. When fully healthy, they have one of the best offenses. They have one of the best defenses. And it's just crazy to think about that. They could put up 125 on their opponent and hold them to sub 100. Only trade I can see benefiting them because they're just so deep is maybe getting a better small forward rather than Lamar Stevens.
That's exactly what I have.
So I'm thinking dream trade would be sending Osman and Lamar Stevens to the Hornets for Caleb Martin / PJ Washington.
I think a small forward they should shoot for is Josh Richardson. He's been rumored to get moved from the Spurs. He's an older veteran that can still play very beneficial minutes. I have Terrence Ross also. I'm throwing him everywhere. He just needs to get out of there.
I actually like that.
Poto as a possible suitor for a backup center position.
Robin Lopez has been actually very good for them.
Yeah, but they could upgrade. I mean, why not try to upgrade? I mean, because the Celtics are trying to upgrade their backup center.
I mean, Robin Lopez just beats up mascots nowadays.
Yeah.
So
I have 4 players here: Terrence Ross, Jakob Poeltl, Serge Ibaka as well, and then Josh Richardson. I really like the Josh Richardson aspect because it does upgrade your position compared to Lamar Stevens. What do you guys think about Josh Richardson?
I think it's great. I've never been a big Lamar Stevens guy, especially when you're a contending team as the backup 3. So I think bringing in either Terrence Ross or whoever would be very beneficial.
Yeah, I mean, I like that. I wish Philly would have never really got rid of him, but we kind of had to. I feel like at that point you move Karis LeVert over to the 3 and let Josh Richardson just play the 2. He's just such a threat from downtown. He can guard anybody. I really do like Josh Richardson. He's one of my favorite role players in the NBA.
So yeah, for the Cleveland Cavaliers, it's a great young team with a lot of depth, but they are missing a couple, few pieces to be that NBA Finals contending team. I'm not a big fan of Lamar Stevens as the backup 3, but also Ricky Rubio is aging and coming off of a torn ACL. I'm not sure how he's going to hold up, and I'm kind of want to look at my future. So to replace a playmaker like Ricky Rubio, you can look at Monte Morris, T.J. McConnell, who even though he's a huge contract, he is one of the best passers in the NBA. Or you could try and make a big little deal for Jay Crowder if you want to bring him in. So I just not a big fan of Lamar Stevens. I think Terrence Ross is a really good fit, bringing him in as the backup 3. So I actually like that a lot, Terrence Ross.
Yeah. So I got the Brooklyn Nets, pretenders. It's been the same story for the last 4 years. They do great in the regular season, then it's just awful in postseason. KD plays his heart out, does amazing. Then there's Kyrie Irving stomping on people's heads and just or not, stepping on the logo head and then getting himself single-handedly swept the next season. Then you got Ben Simmons, who is notorious for being awful in the playoffs. So to me, like you were kind of touching on, there's no backup center.
Yeah.
So I think you got to reignite that OKC connection, and you got to trade for Serge Ibaka.
I have him as well.
For Edmund Sumner, I think that will be the best thing to do. Serge Ibaka, he would be such a big role. He's won a championship. He's one of the best stretch defenders in the NBA, and I just feel like that's just it would be the most beneficial thing. He can lead Nick Claxton a lot too. So.
Not only do they have no backup center, they rank last in total rebounds per game with only 47.5 rebounds. To put this in perspective, the best rebounding team, the Grizzlies, averaged 60.7 rebounds a game. So there's a roughly 13 rebound difference in that margin, which is very wide when you're talking about trying to win games. I like the Serge Ibaka idea. I have that one written down as well. Another one, per Kevin O'Connor of The Ringer, the Nets are interested in trying to acquire Naz Reid from the Wolves. The Wolves have an abundance of centers. Rudy Gobert, Karl-Anthony Towns. Naz Reid, a lot like Isaiah Stewart, does deserve a starting role or just a bigger role in general on the team. So I think that'd be a good fit for the Brooklyn Nets. Add some intensity, add some real grit that they need, and not this just floppy baby stuff that you get from Kevin Durant and Kyrie.
Yeah, I love Naz Reid, so I hope he does not go there with everything in him. I
just think that's a great target for some real just attitude and grit to go on the Nets roster.
I just hope he doesn't go there.
So Brooklyn, it's a contender, one of the hottest teams in the league. After looking at the roster, there's very little that can make this team improve. However, backup center is that one thing that they could improve. This is, I know the segment we call Dream Trades, so I kind of went big with Brooklyn. So imagine they package Joe Harris, Edmund Sumner, Patty Mills, and 2 firsts or 1 first for somebody like Miles Turner. Bringing in Miles Turner would be huge for them. He brings in a lot of defense. I'm not sure how much you need him because you have Nick Claxton. He's great out there, but Nick Claxton could definitely play that backup. It was just a little dream thing. I think that'd be really cool seeing Miles Turner alongside Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. But more realistic options include Jakob Poeltl, Serge Ibaka, Chris Boucher, or like you said, Naz Reid. Really anything would help because Nick Claxton can't be out there on his own. They have Ben Simmons as the backup center on the on the depth chart, but he's already the starting power forward, so I'm not sure what they're doing there, but I think one of those guys would benefit greatly.
I agree.
So next up, I got the 2021 NBA champions, the Milwaukee Bucks. Actively trying to find a new home for Serge Ibaka. As we were saying, though, do you keep him because of the
Bobby Portis?
Exactly. So with that being said, I kind of changed up my trade. Pat Connaughton, Grayson Allen, George Hill going to the Indiana Pacers for Buddy Hield and James Johnson.
Whoa.
They get Buddy Hield.
I mean,
and
they're winning
and
the
they
title.
have K-Mid. Well,
I'm sorry, they're
timeout. They have K-Mid too.
I mean,
It's gonna be a tough team to beat.
That's what I'm saying. You got Giannis, the best catch and shoot player since Ray Allen, arguably. And then you have James Johnson, who can still shoot some corner threes and play defense. And you're losing Pat Connaughton and Grayson Allen. So for Buddy Hield, that's just a big dub. I think that would be the dream scenario, and that would be able to make them compete with the Celtics, to get to the finals.
I agree with that. Shams reported that the Bucks are eyeing Jay Crowder, as we mentioned earlier, so I think that'd be a good trade for them. They're also trying to find a new home, as we mentioned many times today, for Serge Ibaka, but hey, that might be on hold due to the Bobby Portis injury. Grayson Allen, I feel like you could move him and try to get Cam Reddish. I think that's a possibility. I feel like Cam Reddish on the Bucks, not only do you get someone who could turn into a superstar, at least a star-level talent, and possibly take over K-Mid's role as he continues to age, but you also get someone right now who can be a great bench scorer. So how do you guys feel about Cam Reddish possibly going to the Bucks? There's been no reports on it. It's just something I kind of thought about. Just try move Grayson Allen, a few other assets possibly for Cam Reddish, and maybe you might have to take on Evan Fournier's contract to make the money
what I'm
work
saying.
out.
If you do that, I like it, because Fournier, he's going to provide that. He's going to probably move to that too, because Grayson Allen is a starting two guard, which I don't like him, but he's
earned
that very well. Mm-hmm. And Fournier, he can go out there and shoot some threes, play his terrible defense, but yeah.
How about Cam Reddish for them?
I like that.
I just think it just provides a team that's aging, but still has young players. Just add another young player who has a possibility to turn into something special.
Yeah.
So for Milwaukee, they're contenders, obviously. They're one of the top teams in the league. However, you got that controversy surrounding Serge Ibaka. He's had the fallout with the team, and they've essentially guaranteed him a trade. Again, we don't know what's going to happen now with Bobby Portis since he went down. So Serge could stay, but in this little universe I got going, I don't think he does. So I would look to move him for somebody like Jay Crowder, who I think would be fire on the Milwaukee. As that catch and shoot guy, he has NBA Finals experience, so I just think that'd be a great move. And then obviously there's guys like Jakob Poeltl, who, even though I think he ends up a Boston Celtic, would be great in Milwaukee. And then Chris Boucher, obviously, to replace Serge Ibaka as that backup five. He can play the four as well, so yeah. He's much younger. So, I mean, Milwaukee, they're such a complete team, they don't need much.
Mm-hmm. So, next up we got my team, Sixers. Sadly, I'm going to have to rank them in the same place I have the Nets, pretenders.
Wow.
So, as we all know, I'm not fond of James Harden. Due to the ISO ball style, I think he clogs up the court, does not allow Tyrese Maxey to be the all-star he is. They've moved Tyrese Maxey to the bench, which is making me want to get Doc Rivers out there, because Tyrese Maxey is the future of the Sixers. He's 21 years old. Why is he coming off the bench having an all-star season? I don't get that. But there's many trades I would love to see realistically. I don't see us making a move, though, so I just kind of put the players I would like us to have. You know who's going to be on here. Russell Westbrook, obviously. I would trade him for James Harden in a million years. I don't care. Tyrese Maxey is that good to me. In my opinion, Tyrese Maxey is that good. Jalen Smith of the Indiana Pacers, I would love to have him come in there and be the backup power forward. PJ Washington and Doug McDermott.
I like that. I just think they need to decide if they're content with their position right now. I mean, they started 12-12, and they've completely turned their season around. As much as you hate James Harden, you are the second seed in the Eastern Conference, so you do have to give some respect to James Harden on that standpoint.
I think it's Joe. He'll go out there and have a 6-point game with 8 turnovers. It's just ridiculous to me. If he's going to be doing that, hey, get Westbrook in here.
Hey, you're still the second seed, and like I said, you came back from literally at 12-12. So I think you have to pick a position. The most realistic option I see right now is not much happening, but if you were to do something, specifically any move that acquires a contract over $15 million, you're gonna have to throw Toby in there. I know you're okay with getting rid of Tobias Harris's contract, we're going to have to move him if it's any deal over $15 million because of just different tax rules and different money rules. Because the Sixers are currently about $1.5 million over the NBA's $150 million luxury tax line. So, like I said, it's going to be difficult to really pursue anyone that's really a big fish without getting rid of Toby. But I just don't know why you'd get rid of Toby for someone like Cam Reddish that you've talked about before.
Obviously.
I mean, if you get
why would you do that?
If you get Evan Fournier and like you're saying about the Bucks, bro, to me, Tobias Harris, when I watch the games and he's sitting there in the corner shooting threes, I can't tell you a time I've been more mad watching the NBA than whenever I watch Tobias Harris shoot corner threes.
I mean, he's averaging 17 points a game.
That's all right.
Cam Reddish, I don't know if he's going to do that.
See, I don't need him to do that. I need him and...
So who's going to make up for those points?
Just bring in somebody else.
Tyrese Maxey, and we got James Harden. We don't need Tobias Harris, who doesn't play no defense and who shoots horrible shots and is just not efficient. Him and James Harden, them two, they're going to bring the team down in the playoffs. That's why I said pretenders. So, yeah. I think Cam Reddish, though, that's Tyrese Maxey's future right-hand man. So, I would love that.
Oh, it's my turn?
Yeah.
I didn't know if you went. All right, so Philly was probably the hardest one to do out of all of these, only because they're so complete. I just think they have everything you need. Obviously, I kind of agree with Nick here. I think moving James Harden for somebody like Russell Westbrook would be beneficial because the Lakers are, like you said, they're stupid. They don't have the brightest front office, and when
they're
they hear...
not that stupid.
They're kind of. But when they hear a name, James Harden...
They traded for AD.
Yeah, but that was like years ago. But when they hear a name like... Oh my gosh, they want to give us James Harden? Are you kidding me? We'll give you anything. I just think getting somebody like Russell Westbrook to play make out there for Maxey and for Maxey and Joel. But I mean, that's pretty unrealistic. I don't think the Sixers try and give up James Harden right now, especially when they are the second seed. If they did keep up at that 12-12 rate, I do think that would be a possibility. But
I would be so happy.
Yeah, but right about now, I don't think that's going to happen. More realistic options, because I do think they could use like a legit passer, are Monte Morris, Jordan McLaughlin, who actually has a perfect passer rating this year, which I looked up and found pretty surprising. So I feel like if they brought in a really good passer to feed Joel down low, that'd be pretty awesome. Last team.
Yeah. Get into my pick for winning the NBA Finals.
Worst team in the league.
Boston Celtics. Best team in the NBA. The only depth they're lacking, which is none at all. I mean, they could go the rest of the season as they are and still win in my mind, still win the title. But I feel like the smartest thing to do, get Peyton Pritchard and that bum Justin Jackson off the team for Jakob Poeltl. Straight up. I mean, the Spurs are willing to do it, and it's only a matter of time until it happens.
Yeah, when this team is healthy, I completely agree with you, Nick. Thank you very much for your kind words for my Boston Celtics. When this team is healthy, no one's touching them. We don't really need to make many moves. I think Luke Cornett is serviceable when everyone's healthy. But the question is, not everyone is always healthy, especially with Rob's turning into a kind of a knee problem. We're going to see if that plays his career at all.
Then it's fine.
No, I agree. But down the line, we'll see what happens. And then right now, Marcus Smart's out for a few weeks. Malcolm Brogdon, he's always been injury prone. He's out for a little bit. And then Jaylen Brown, he's coming and going with hamstring issues. And then Jason Tatum reportedly might need wrist surgery in the offseason, but it's on his left hand, so it doesn't really matter. Point being, I think we need someone who can really jump into that starting role when our big men are out. Someone like Jakob Poeltl, Naz Reid is another player I really like, or Jared Vanderbilt, who gets talked in trades, but I think would be a perfect fit for the Celtics roster. The only thing is that we probably have to give up a little bit because he's kind of like someone like a Grant Williams. And I wouldn't want to give up a Grant Williams. So I don't know if that's the most realistic one, but I mostly see Naz Reid or Jakob Poeltl happening. But I would love Jared Vanderbilt, who would really just be pure defense. And I wouldn't mind seeing it. One that has been the most that have been reported are Jakob Poeltl and Willy Hernangomez. I feel like if you get Willy Hernangomez, he's a slight upgrade from Luke Cornett. But on the other hand, it's a little bit better. But I'd rather get a lot better with Jakob Poeltl. So that's my take on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Boston Celtics, the contenders of all contenders, looking like the best team in the league right now, unless they're facing the Magic. They're a very complete team. However, adding Jakob Poeltl would be a massive, massive upgrade. Celtics, they're undersized, like you were saying earlier. That's why the Magic, they find it so easy to beat the Celtics, because the Magic have so much size. the Celtics are extremely undersized.
Well, when Rob's out there, even though he's 6'9", 6'10", it doesn't really matter. But he hasn't been out there.
But again, when he's not out there, Robert Williams is very injury prone. So bringing in Jakob Poeltl, who hasn't had a ton of injury history, he's a true 7-footer, which you guys lack. Fantastic rebounder, great blocker, very efficient scorer. I just think adding Jakob Poeltl would make you guys a solidified championship team.
I'm not arguing with that.
They might go back to back if they have him.
Yeah, I mean Jakob Poeltl, if they add him, it looks like wraps for the league. It's going to be very hard to contend with the Celtics.
We just have a lot of point guard depth, so we have to figure out who we want to let go. And that's going to be obviously Peyton Pritchard. And then you have to package someone like, I mean, if you want to go really cheap, Justin Jackson would be great. But I feel like
he's making $2 million.
No, but I mean more of like just like an asset. Like
I feel like the Spurs wouldn't mind somebody like Peyton Pritchard. They get younger. Maybe you throw in a pick because all of your guys' picks, all of your guys' picks are going to be very high in the draft. So I feel like you guys are going to end up having to do that. So I mean, trading a few picks would not hurt whatsoever.
Yeah, I agree
with that.
So is that all we got?
I think that's all we got.
Alrighty, y'all. Thank you all for tuning in to WVUA 90.7 and the Full Court Press podcast. We will be back next week with our Western Conference trade deadline dream scenarios. See ya!